What's up, everybody? Andrew Cooper here with Fantasy Alarm. It is Monday morning. That means it's time to dig through the rubble of Sunday, figure out what the heck happened in terms of snaps, carries, targets, who pass blocked, who got the third downs, who got the 2 minute drills, all that good stuff for you. Let's try and get this done in under 20 minutes because there's 4 teams on by. This week coming up, there's 6 teams on by, so that should be an even faster one. But we'll get you in, we'll get you out. Just want to give a quick shout out to Fantasy Alarm, to the NFL Zone Data, to Pro Football Focus, Fantasy Points Data Suite, Pro Football Reference, StatHead, all the different sources that we pull things from, just to kind of get a better picture of what's going on. A lot of great sources out there for information. So I just try and round it down and say, hey, who played, who didn't, who can we trust for fantasy? So let's get into it. First one here, Packers at Bears. We saw Romeo Dubs play his typical outside role. He plays a ton of snaps out there. The game script was weird, so they only played 46 snaps. As a team, as an offense, the average is 63, right? So these snap counts are kind of low compared to everybody else, but percentage wise, it was about what we usually see. Romeo Dubs is the guy on the outside. Jane Reed plays the slot, but he doesn't play in two wide receiver sets, so he only played 26 snaps. Christian Watson and Dontavian Wicks rotate typically. This week, Watson got 31, Wicks 16. So Watson's the guy to go to. He had the big game, but obviously you're banking on big plays here. Tucker Kraft actually played more snaps than any of these guys, 43 of 46, ran 18 to 20 routes, just wasn't his day, only one target. This team has no one on pace for 100 targets, so kind of tough. Josh Jacobs, he kind of crushed today. He was the guy. On the Bears side, it was DJ Moore and Keenan Allen as the full-time players. 68 snaps for Moore, 67 for Allen. That's out of 72. Rome Odunze, though, played 59. They used a lot of three wide receiver sets with Shane Waldron gone. Awesome. Cole Kmet, 70 to 72 snaps. Again, just with all the wide receivers, it's hard for him to get a ton of targets. DeAndre Swift, 41 snaps to 30 for Roshan. Swift got the bulk of the work in both phases, more carries and more pass snaps. But Roshan mixed in enough, uh, to maybe be a spot start, but he doesn't really have a defined role. He was behind Swift in all phases. Next game here, Lions at Jaguars. This one was obviously a crazy blowout, so hard to really dig in too deep. It was basically Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tim Patrick, and Jameson Williams as the full-time guys. ARSB and JMO are the guys you can start. Jameer Gibbs and Monty did their split. 33 snaps for Gibbs, 31 for Monty, more carries for Monty, more pass plays for Gibbs. We know how that goes. On the tight end front, without Sam Laporta, what we saw was Brock Wright play an inline role, 65 snaps, but only 20 routes. He's kind of the inline tight end. Shane Zylstra would go in for pass plays on third down. He ran 12 routes to 20 for Brock Wright, got the first catch of the game, but didn't do much after. He also hurt his neck. So if he's going to be out, we'd be more interested in Brock Wright. In any sort of redraft league, though, if they're both healthy, you can't use any of them. We're just hoping Laporta comes back. We couldn't even really trust Laporta, so how are we going to trust these guys? On Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr. was the full-time guy. Gabe Davis played opposite him. Parker Washington in the slot. And then Evan Engram did his thing, 25 routes to 31 for Engram, got 7 targets, got 8 targets last week. It's just the ball's coming from Mac Jones. So in full PPR, he's still an option because of the target volume, but it's hard to expect a bunch of yards and touchdowns in a Mac Jones offense. With no Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne was the guy. Dearness Johnson backed him up on pass downs. They're on bye this week, so Bigsby probably will be back. Etienne plays more, but Bigsby gets a decent amount of carries. So got to treat that the way you would any bad team with a split. It's hard to trust either of these guys. Next game here, Dolphins at Raiders. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Those are your full-time guys on the outside. 53 snaps for Waddle, 52 for Hill. And then Johnny Smith, 55 snaps for him. He's been playing a ton. He kind of is growing into the George Kittle role here for this team. 35 routes run out of 38, got 7 targets. That's exactly what we wanted to see for him. So he's a guy you can start now. And if something happens to Waddle or Hill, he has additional upside. And I mean, this week he has been out targeting Jalen Waddle. So not a bad option there. Just like, honestly, it's a very similar option to what the 49ers run, where they use the fullback so much that you're not going to have a lot of uh, wide receiver 3, right? So you get a ton of these two back sets and the tight end stuff. So it's basically whoever the wide receiver is, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Jonnu, making Jonnu an option just like George Kittle's an option when he's healthy. On the Raiders side, you got Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers as the full-time wide receivers, and then they use a lot of two tight end sets. So DJ Turner only played 28 snaps, whereas Tucker and Myers each played 50 plus. Obviously, Brock Bowers is a super mega star. Incredible week this week. You start him every single week. You trade for him in Dynasty if that's possible. It's probably not possible. Michael Mayer returned and played 34 snaps. That's why you don't have a wide receiver 3, because you have a tight end playing 34 snaps, and Bowers played 62 of 65. So you can't really get a third wide receiver in there with a second tight end playing that much. With the running back front, we saw Zamir White return and kind of be the early down back. Uh, Alexander Madison and White both got hurt here. Madison left and was ruled out pretty much immediately. So I think his injury is probably pretty serious. Zamir White we'll have to see, but it should be Zamir White early downs, Amir Abdullah on pass downs. Make of that what you will. I'll write about it in the waiver wire article, my thoughts on that. But depending on game script, we might see more Abdullah, but early downs, it should be Zamir White. Touchdowns and goal line should be Zamir White. So keep that in mind for whatever your game plan is for that offense. Rams at Patriots here. On the Rams side, it was Puka Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson as the three guys. Obviously, Kupp and Nakua get more targets. That's the way it's going to be for the time being. Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Tyler Johnson. None of those guys even played 10 snaps. Sean McVay likes using the same guys if possible. Davis Allen did continue to play more snaps and run more routes, but Colby Parkinson got the touchdown. It was only 17 of 27 routes for Allen, 5 of 27 for Parkinson. So Allen is still your dart throw, but can't really trust this guy. And then Kyron Williams was the guy. Blake Corum backed him up. If anything happens to Kyron Williams, Blake Corum gets a big snap share. So he's one of the best handcuffs out there. On the Patriots side, this is where we have a lot more moving parts. Once again, Kayshon Boutte was the guy that led the team in snaps. This has been true every week since Drake May was the guy. They asked Alex Van Pelt whether it was the way he's playing or the role he plays, and Alex Van Pelt said it's both. So he's the guy moving forward. Demario Douglas gets his slot snaps. He's not a full-time player. He really has never been. So you had 45 routes from Kayshon Boutte, 29 from Demario Douglas, 23 for Kendrick Bourne, 15 for Jalen Poole, right? And that's out of 46. So really, Boutte is the one guy that's playing the full snaps. The other guy that is playing a ton of snaps and running a ton of routes, as Alex Van Pelt also mentioned, that he's the guy they try and scheme up the most, Hunter Henry. 67 snaps, 43 out of 46 routes, 9 targets, led the team in targets. If Austin Hooper was not taking a couple targets here or there, we'd be talking about Hunter Henry in a much bigger light. But if you think about it, as we talked about on last week's show, he still had an 89% route participation. Sorry, 89% snap share, 87% route participation. He still got 4 targets out of 25, which is 16% target share. Like that's why we were still on Hunter Henry. I started in a lot of leagues, worked out really well. Ramondre Stevenson led by far once again, 58 of 76 snaps. Antonio Gibson only played 13, so he's the guy there for sure. Saints at Browns. The Saints last week rolled out Kevin Austin Jr., a guy who had been on the Jaguars practice squad. That's all I really know about the guy. But he led in snaps this week, not in routes, though. He played a lot more like run plays. So he led in snaps and ran 16 routes with 41 snaps, 16 routes. Marcus Valdez Scaling played 39 snaps, 26 routes. So they don't really like the blocking of MVS, but he's the guy leading in routes run. He led the whole team in routes run. So if you want to go after a Saints wide receiver, it's MVS. As we know, it was all Taysom Hill all day long. He got a ton of targets. He got a bunch of snaps. He played snaps at every position. I tweeted it out, but basically, he played 11 special team snaps, 9 at quarterback, 9 at running back, 9 at wide receiver, 8 at tight end. Like I was all over the place. So Taysom Hill, I mean, can't ignore what he's doing. If he's tight end eligible in your format, which is most formats, you can throw him in there, right? He's running routes. He's getting targets. That's a big difference here. We're not just chasing touchdowns anymore. This guy is the guy. Alvin Kamara, I mean, he'll probably let everybody down in playoffs, but he's still the guy for now. Alvin Kamara is the guy as well. 16 carries, 4 targets, 44 snaps. Like, got caught at the goal line a couple times there. It is what it is, but he is running the show. We'll have to see what happens when Jamal Williams gets back and if he's involved at all. On the Cleveland Browns side, it's been the same every week where it's the same 4 guys, but different target pecking order. Every week, a different guy has led this team in targets for the last 4 weeks. Jerry Jeudy just got 10 targets, so now he's led the team. We've seen Tillman, we've seen Moore, we've seen Jeudy, we've seen David Njoku. It's highly consolidated amongst those guys, but in any given week, it could be a different guy. I mean, it just so happens this week, 8 targets for Tillman, 10 for Jeudy, 8 for Moore, 10 for Njoku. I mean, I guess you can kind of start them all, really. But we'll have to see what Jameis Winston, what happens with him and whether he's going to keep being the quarterback or whether they try like Dorian Thompson Robinson. Uh, I just want to see Jameis stay in there because at least he's throwing the ball all over the place. With the running backs, as we talked about, uh, and we don't have to talk about tight ends because David Njoku is the man. He's locked in. With the running backs, uh, as we know, Nick Chubb gets the run work. Jerome Ford is kind of in the Justice Hill role where he gets the pass downs. And because of the game script this week, they ran a lot more pass plays and we're playing from behind. So Jerome Ford actually played 41 snaps to 22 for Chubb. So if you can predict the game script, which is difficult, then you can predict who will be the guy, whether it be Chubb or whether it'll be Jerome Ford, but we'll have to see on that. Again, I would predict the Browns to be losing most games, but we'll have to see what the schedule looks like there. Uh, Colts at Jets on this one. Michael Pittman led in snaps and targets. Alec Pierce was opposite him, doing his deep routes, score or doesn't score type business. And then Josh Downs was the slot guy. He got 5 targets, which isn't ideal, but he was able to rip off a couple of big plays, score a touchdown. So Josh Downs still on the menu. It's just with Flacco, he was getting 8, 9, 10 targets. So 5 is fine. But Michael Pittman is still kind of the top guy here, and Pierce is a dart throw, and Downs is a PPR mostly guy. You can't expect him to have a bunch of yards and a touchdown given how low his A dot typically is. He's had a couple big plays though, which is nice. Tight ends here, can't trust any of them. If you were going to throw a dart at one, it would be Kylan Granson right now. He at least ran 17 routes to only 7 for Mo Cox, 6 for Andrew Ogletree. Will Mallory did not play today. Jonathan Taylor, 63 out of 70 snaps. He's the guy. The backups, Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson, would probably be a split if Taylor went out like it was before. Sermon on early downs, Goodson on pass downs. With the Jets, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams are the top 2 guys. Xavier Gibson and Malachi Corley, neither one of them played even half the snaps. They rotated a bunch of tight ends, so Tyler Conklin played a good amount, but he got a QB sneak, couple targets, but he's not a guy you can trust. Neither are Jeremy Ruckert and Kenny Yeboah. I know Yeboah scored, but he played 3 snaps. Breece Hall is the man. Braylon Allen is the backup. There you go. On the Steelers at Ravens front, Steelers, George Pickens led everybody as always in targets and snaps, everything. Van Jefferson was the next best. So 68 snaps for Pickens, 43 for Jefferson. Then Calvin Austin played 26. Mike Williams still only 25 snaps, getting ramped up. Didn't get a target. So we'll have to see how high he can go there. With the tight ends, Darnell Washington and Pat Freiermuth each played 44 snaps. 30 routes run for Muth, 17 for Washington. So even though Washington got a couple extra targets or 1 extra target, Muth still ran more routes, but it was out of 42. So 30 out of 42 is not cutting it. Connor Hayward's still a backup. With the running backs, Najee Harris led in both runs and pass downs. Jalen Warren's dealing with a back issue, so not really as great of an option as he typically is. We have to see how healthy he can get here. On the Ravens front, Zay Flowers led in snaps. Rashad Bateman played 49, so 51 for Flowers, 49 for Bateman, 32 routes run for Flowers, 31 for Bateman. So right now, Bateman's the guy. Deontay Johnson in his revenge game only got 11 snaps, so not really doing a whole lot there. Mark Andrews, 37 snaps to 30 for Isaiah Likely, 21 routes for Andrews, 20 for Likely out of 36. So again, we're back to the rotation. They're trying to keep guys healthy. Not ideal for fantasy. Justice Hill, 30 snaps to Derrick Henry, 30 snaps. And again, here's the situation, just like we talked with Jerome Ford and Nick Chubb. If they end up behind where they kind of did here, Derrick Henry, 13 carries, only 1 carry for Justice Hill. But Justice Hill ran 23 routes, to only 8 for Derrick Henry. He got 6 targets. So Justice Hill's the pass down guy. That's the way they like it. Vikings at Titans is this one here. Justin Jefferson led everybody, 72 snaps. Jordan Addison only played 45. I didn't see if he got nicked up or not, but typically he's closer to Jefferson as like an every down guy. But it looks like Jalen Naylor and Brandon Powell and Trent Sherfield stepped in a little bit, but typically Addison would be up there with Jefferson. We'll have to check on his health. With the tight ends, it's clear at this stage that they are not deploying TJ Hockenson in full. Basically, we're seeing what we saw with Mark Andrews coming off his injury earlier in the year. He has now played 45%, 46%, and 48% of the snaps in the first 3 games. So Hockenson, we can't move him all the way up just yet. I was trying to warn people. A lot of folks on Reddit they didn't love where I had him ranked, and I was like, I can't move him up until we see him play more than 50% of the snaps because it might be by design. That might be their plan. So he ran 21 of 37 routes, which is not ideal. He only got 3 targets. Josh Oliver got 3 targets. I mean, it was 21 routes for Hawk, 18 for Oliver. So until they get him fully ramped up, it's just you can still utilize him where you have him, but we're not going to rank him the way we do like Trey McBride and some of these other guys. I know he got 9 targets last week, but he still wasn't even playing the full snap share. So it's not like his guy you drop or you don't start, but I mean, we're just not going to rank him with the elite guys because he's not getting elite deployment. Just like with Mark Andrews, when he wasn't getting elite deployment, but he caught a couple touchdown passes, we don't move that guy up to where we keep the Brock Bowers and the Trey McBrides and these guys and the David and Jokers of the world. That's just the way it goes. With running back, Aaron Jones led 15 carries, 14 routes run. Cam Akers, though, 10 carries and 13 routes run. Aaron Jones dealing with a rib. So until he gets back to 100%, Cam Akers is a potential dart throw, but nothing much more than that. On the Titans side, Calvin Ridley and Nick Westbrook-Ikine, 52 and 50 snaps. That's how it's been with those two guys, which means Ridley's a guy that you've been locking in. Westbrook-Ikine, he scores every once in a while. He is a dart throw. Tyler Boyd, only 35 snaps. He's dealing with an injury, and he's also a slot guy, so can't trust Tyler Boyd. Chigga has been a mystery for us. Some weeks he plays like the whole game, and Josh Wiley doesn't play. Last week, they split the snaps down the middle. This week, Chig goes 42 snaps. Wiley plays 14. Still only 19 of 37 routes run for Chig, but he got 4 targets. I mean, again, we're talking DFS dart throw at best until we can see him be like a full-time guy, but it hasn't been that way. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears split the snaps. Uh, Pollard more run. Spears was splitting the pass snaps with him, but he suffered a concussion, so we'll have to see what happens here uh, moving forward. Also, keep in mind that Josh Oliver did suffer an injury in this game, an ankle injury, per Nathan Yankee over at PFF. So we'll have to see. Maybe that will force Hockenson to play more snaps. We got the next game here: Broncos, Falcons on the board here. Cortland Sutton led as he always does. Devon Vele has been the second wide receiver for a couple games now. So again, if you're looking for a dart throw, I know little Jordan Humphrey scored more points, but 27 snaps for Humphrey, 27 for Franklin, 14 for Mims, 42 for Vele, 52 for Sutton. So Vele did get the rollout. If Josh Reynolds plays, that could hurt all of them though. So keep an eye out for Josh Reynolds coming back from IR. He practiced but did not play. At tight ends, Lucas Kroll not on the radar. I mean, here's the situation. Out of 35 possible routes, Troutman ran 9, Atkins ran 8, Lucas Kroll ran 9. That means there's no fantasy relevant guy here. At running back, we were hoping Audric Estime would have the hot hand. Wasn't quite the case. Javonte Williams, 32 snaps, Estime 14. Williams got 9 carries, Estime 6. Williams ran 16 rounds to 5 for Estime. Estime is not really much of a pass catcher. They tried him out a couple targets here, but it's Javonte moving forward until the hot hand changes. It's hard to trust any of them, though. On the Falcons side, Drake London got a little nicked up. Darnell Mooney also left the game with a hamstring. So Ray McLeod led in routes run, in snaps. But it's going to be, if Mooney misses time, it should be London, McLeod, and Kaderil Hodge getting a little bump. Kyle Pitts had good deployment. I mean, 28 routes out of 36. They did pull the starters once it was a blowout kind of in this one. So that's why you saw a little more McLeod. They kept using a bunch of multiple tight end sets down the stretch. So Pitts stayed out there. I mean, Pitts, only 1 catch. I mean, this should have been a good spot for him, and he did not perform, which is that stinks. We saw Michael Penix Jr. come in. Who knows? Maybe if they keep losing, we'll see a little more of him. Bijan Robinson led the way. Jace McClellan actually played over Tyler Algier. Not sure if Algier got mixed up. He basically he plays when they're winning. So when they're losing like this, maybe they went to McClellan, who maybe has a little more pass ability. I'm not entirely sure. I think they just went to the backups, honestly, and that's why McClellan played the fourth quarter. That's the reality here. Uh, Seahawks at 49ers. DK Metcalf and JSN led in snaps, 54 for DK, 50 for JSN, 47 for Tyler Lockett. The Lockett actually ran more routes than them. They just kind of took him out for run plays, but it's good to see them just using 3 wide receivers, because that's why they brought in Ryan Grubb, which is good news for JSN because he was a part-time player last year. Tight end AJ Barner led the way. This is a terrible matchup for him, one of the worst matchups possible. But if Noah Fant's out again, now we'll consider AJ Barner, right? You start these guys in good matchups, not against the 49ers. Kenneth Walker led in all phases. Zach Charbonnet was the backup. That's how they're doing it. 44 snaps for Walker, 19 for Charbonnet. On the 49ers front, they told us what they were going to do, and they did it. Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel are the full-time guys. 60 snaps for Jennings, 55 for Samuel. Ricky Parasol is now the Juwan Jennings role, 37 snaps for him. With George Kittle out, Eric Saubert played all the snaps, 61 of 63. He's just not a pass catcher, so don't worry about that. I guess maybe DFS dart throw if Kittle's out again. McCaffrey played virtually all the snaps, as he does, 59 of 63. So he is very much back. On the Bills and Chiefs front, we're so close to 20 minutes. We're not going to make it, but we're going to come close. Khalil Shakir led 52 snaps to 73. Curtis Samuel played 44. Matt Collins, 41. Mark Cooper eased back in with 37 snaps. So it's Shakir and Cooper if you're going to use anybody there, because Cooper's going to get ramped up as we go. Dawson Knox had good deployment with no Dalton Kincaid. 37 routes run out of 35 possible, 6 targets. So if Kincaid misses time, Knox still an interesting play. And then James Cook, um, he led in carries, targets, the whole deal, but he only played 27 snaps. Ty Johnson played 33. He scored the touchdown earlier on. I'm not sure if he's banged up. Looking for info on that, but no, I mean, I guess they just wanted to use Ty Johnson on some pass plays. So Ty Johnson played a little more. Ray Davis didn't play a whole lot. On the Kansas City side, Xavier Worthy stepped up, had a pretty good game here. I mean, it was out of 55 possible snaps, they kind of rotated everyone. 32 for Worthy, 31 for Justin Watson, 26 for Hopkins, 20 for Juju. I mean, they lost this game, so maybe they should just lean back into Hopkins, but kind of weird there how they rotated everyone. Nobody even played like 60% of the snaps or around that. Travis Kelsey played his usual snap share, which was usually pretty good. 44 snaps for him, 42 for Noah Gray. And Noah Gray got some work here. So clearly they wanted to go multiple tight ends here. Didn't really work. So maybe they won't do that again. Kareem Hunt, 38 snaps for him to 11 for P. Ryan, 8 for Carson Steele. So P. Ryan, not really a factor. It's still Kareem Hunt until Isaiah Pacheco gets back. Last game here, the night game, Los Angeles Chargers. Quentin Johnston led 55 snaps. So there were 67 total. 55 for Johnston, 51 for Palmer, 49 for McConkey. So those are your three wide receivers. They're locked in. Johnston and McConkey got more work than Palmer. Johnston, definitely a guy you got to start adding. McConkey's already added everywhere. And then Will Disley, the Dizzler, 38 snaps out of 67 and only 26 routes out of 43. So not ideal, not like perfect. We're not going to move him way up, but he's getting targets. I mean, they like targeting this guy. 5 targets again this week. He scored the touchdown. So definitely a guy that's on the radar, especially next week with so many guys on bye. So if he's out there, you got to add him for your spot starts and possibly even to start for you. I put him in the same range as Zach Ertz. They are not going to wow you with yak, but they're getting targets and they can score. So there you go. J.K. Dobbins, 49 snaps to 11 for Gus Edwards. But when Edwards was out there, he's getting the ball. So spot start for him. But Dobbins is the guy until further notice. On the Bengals, Jamar Chase, 81 of 82 snaps. T. Higgins, 69 of 82. But I mean, there were 56 dropbacks. Chase ran 55 routes. Higgins ran 50. Yossi Voss is the third fiddle. Don't worry about him. Those top dogs, Chase and Higgins, are the guys. Same with tight end. I mean, Gesicki ran more routes than Sample, but only got 2 targets. Can't start him when Higgins is back. And then Chase Brown got 68 snaps to only 4 for Khalil Herbert. They did use a lot of empty back sets on third downs, but whatever. Chase Brown is locked in. He's the guy. All right, that's it for us. We did all right, not quite 20 minutes, but there was a lot going on this week. Next week, we're going to get under 20 minutes. I guarantee it. Thank you guys for popping in. You can find me on Twitter at Coop, letter A, Fiasco. Fantasy Alarm is where all my articles live. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like this stuff. All week long, we have different things for you. This is a serious show where I do serious stat stuff, And then tomorrow we'll have the waiver show with me and Howard Bender. That's a little more fun. Wednesday is our silly show where we just answer every question, hang out, and talk ball. Thursday, you have John and Pemba and Eric Romoff right before kickoff 7 to 8. Friday, I bring a guest on, which is always a ton of fun. And then on Sunday morning, we're back here for your start and sits. That show is Pierre. We'll see you guys for all those shows all week long.